Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to a special edition of Movie Goodness here on the KB Radio Network. And today, I'm bringing you the review of the brand new M. Night Shyamalan film, Knock at the Cabin. How are we doing out there, everybody? Yes, this is the review of the newly released Knock at the Cabin, which is currently playing in a theater near you. This film stars Dave Bautista, Jonathan Groff, Ben Aldrich, Nikki Amaka Bird, Kristen Q, Abby Quinn, and Rupert Grint. What a film! I don't know if I can contain it. What a film! This is one of the best M. Night Shyamalan films we received since I don't know Signs maybe. This was prime M. Night Shyamalan, and not it. We don't get the Shyamalan-isms in this movie. We don't get the uh just out of nowhere twist in this movie. At least I didn't. There is kind of a twist depending on what side of the fence you were in this film, but it wasn't like a crazy out of nowhere twist. Uh, I have a few positives. Well, actually, I have a lot of positives and a few negatives, but the positives outweigh the negatives. Thank God. Um, the premise of this film, because I forgot to give you that, in case you don't know, the premise of this film is a family of three are vacationing in this cabin when they're visited by four strangers who inform them that they must sacrifice one of their own in order to avoid the apocalypse. This is the dreaded choice that this family is given. And I said this on Can't Wait Wednesdays when we were previewing this film. Man, that is a horror movie out of this world because put yourself in that situation. What would you do? you know, what would you do? Would you save 7 billion people? You know, or would you hold on to your loved one? And that is like the hardest choice I have ever known to make. That's a choice I pray I never have to make. Never have to make. But the only way to pull something like this off, to pull a story like this off, you have to have comparable actors in this film. And that leads me into my positives. My number one positive, my number one standout in this film is Dave Bautista. Dave Bautista gives his best performance to date. Uh, for those who don't know, Dave Bautista comes from the world of wrestling. He was a WWE superstar. He was even a WWE heavyweight champion at one point. He is a imposing figure, physically big, muscular guy. He plays Drax in the Guardians of the Galaxy films. He's been in numerous films, other films before. And what I respect about Dave Bautista, he doesn't let his physical presence determine what type of films he makes. Like he could easily get into these cheap, low budget action films. You know what I'm saying? He could be that type of star or these villain roles because he has that villain look. No, he bounces around. He does different type of roles. He was in Glass Onion. He was funny in Glass Onion. He's funny in Guardians of the Galaxy. He was in Blade Runner 2020 or 2049. Uh he does a couple of action movies, but that's not his thing. He wants to be known as an actor, you know, and he challenges himself every role. And I can honestly see Dave Bautista one day being nominated for an Academy Award. Maybe not for this movie. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how the rest of the year would turn out. But I can honestly see him somewhere down the line being in the Academy Award picture. Unlike Dwayne Johnson, and I'm not poo pooing on Dwayne The Rock Johnson here because I love Dwayne the Rock. I love all his movies, but Dwayne the Rock Johnson is who he is. He's an action star. You know, you're not gonna get too many Oscar-worthy performances out of Dwayne Johnson. At least I haven't seen one yet. But that's his wheelhouse, and he sticks to it. John Cena, same thing. John Cena has kind of turned the corner with Peacemaker, and he can act, and he's funny. If you've seen him in his comedies, you know, Vacation Friends, and what was the other? It was a movie with Knockers. That was the other one, and he's funny, but he showed a lot of depth in Peacemaker. But Dave Bautista in this film, he had to be this presence, and he has the presence. You know, he's a big guy, but it wasn't physical. It was the way he spoke, the way he acted. He was calm. He was collective. He was talking. You know, he was empathetic to what was going on, and never did he raise it. I think he only raised his voice once, but he was real reserved in his performance. And oh my God, I enjoyed his performance. He was easily the best performance of this film. But that's not to shoo off anybody else. Every performance was great. Jonathan Groff was great. But the standout out of that couple was Ben Artrous, who I haven't seen in nothing before. This was my first time seeing him in anything, and I'm a fan. I became a fan. I liked his performance to a degree. Now he is part of my negative too, and not. And the reason I'm bringing that up now because it wasn't a big negative. I understood the purpose of that character, and I understood why he acted the way he acted at times. So I'm not faulting him. That's the way the story flowed. It had to go that way. And overall, though, I really did enjoy his performance, you know, because he's dealing with a lot of trauma. Uh, uh, his character, Andrew, has been through a lot. Now, Jonathan Groff's character and his character, uh, Eric and Andrew, they're a same-sex married couple, and they've been through so much hate and discrimination throughout their relationship, throughout their lives, even to the point where Andrew was even physically assaulted at one point, and that caused a lot of trauma. And I'm not getting into a lot of the story. I'm not going to spoil anything. Uh, that's not really a spoiler. I mean, you watch the news and you see that all the time, sadly. So yeah, that's not a spoiler. But anywho's, yeah, he's dealing with a lot of trauma, and when you have this situation arise, uh, where they have to make this choice, and you understand why he feels the way he feels. The young actress who played their daughter, their adopted daughter, Gwen, played by Kristen Q. This is her first film, her first performance, and I couldn't tell. I thought she was a seasoned actress. She was really good. I enjoyed her. The other, I guess you could say, horsemen were great. Uh, it's weird to see Rupert Grint in the role like this. You get accustomed, you know, when you grow up and you get accustomed to seeing a actor play this same character for years. That's all you see him as. And I'm used to seeing Rupert Grint as Ron on Harry Potter. So this is a complete 180 from that. This is a completely different role from Ron. And he nailed it, man. He nailed it for the time that he is on screen. He really nailed it. This is a short film. It's only 100 minutes long, and it's a contained film. It all takes place in this cabin. Now they have flashbacks to other points in time where they're elsewhere, but the majority of this film takes place in this cabin. And I love that about it. When I was leaving the theater, a couple of people walking out like, man, they must didn't have a big budget because they didn't really go nowhere. You know? But they missed the whole point, I felt, because this was a contained story. It was supposed to feel claustrophobic. You're not supposed to know everything that's going on outside while they make this choice. or the lack of making a choice. And you're supposed to doubt, and you were supposed to have questions of faith. I guess you could believe go that route. And what do you believe? Who do you believe? And is this real or is this not real? Or did you pick us because we're gay? Or you pick, you know what I'm saying? It was so many questions being asked that you really have to sit there and like, well, is this real? And it was so much doubt surrounding these four strangers as they arrived. The things that they're saying, you know, uh, you can poke holes in everything that they're saying, but at the same time, you can also believe everything they're saying. And so you're kind of on this crossroads of which way do I go? And it's just a matter of, do you believe and do you not believe? I also love the aspect of trying to convince people of a belief that you have, or a vision that you've had, and trying to convince them that it's true, and they haven't seen that. Like, if you've seen a vision, if something has happened to you that is an unbelievable experience, and you try to explain it to others, you notice that it's kind of hard to convince others of what you've seen or have experienced. You know, I've, I've I've dealt with that my whole life in certain things. Trying to explain, like, this is what it is. It gets and people will call you a flat out lie. You know what I'm saying? So there's that element there as well, and it ramps up the tension. I love the camera work in this film. I love the way this film is shot. It is shot beautifully. The way M. Night Shyamalan uses the camera to frame these actors, like I said, is in this cabin, but they're all in this living room area of the cabin. It's not like they're in the whole cabin. So this is where the story takes place. And you have to fit these seven actors and actresses in this small confined space. And the way he swung the camera around or placed the camera in areas where everything was in frame, and or you got a spacious looking shot, that it depends on the scene, depends on how the scene, or what's going on in the scene, should I put it. uh it was kind of a wider feel, but once the tension build up, the more the tension build up, the tighter that cabin felt. It felt like a little room. you know and it was just beautiful filmmaking by M. Night Shyamalan. My knocks, my knocks on the film, or should I say knock, because I only have really one knock, no pun intended, on this film, is kind of the screenplay, because of the lack of development of certain characters. Even though I understand why we didn't have that development, but a little more information would have helped uh develop these characters more. But to keep it ambiguous and keep it where you really don't know what's going on, you really don't know what to believe, I get it. I understand. you know, but I know a lot of people will be turned off by that. But overall, that's my only knock. Everything else about this film, I completely enjoyed. Once again, the acting, directing, atmosphere, the score. My God, the score was excellent, and the story that they're telling. I think this is an important film in some aspects of the world. The way we look at certain things in the world, it opens your eyes to that, and subtly. I wasn't expecting. I really wasn't. I was expecting something else, and I got this pleasantly. Not knocking it. Once again, no pun intended, but it was pleasant. Uh, but that's it. That's all I can say about knocking a cab without going into spoil. There's a lot I want to say, but I really can't. If you notice, I had to kind of hit the brakes a couple of times because I was about to go. I was about to go ham for a second, but I can't do that. You need to experience it for yourself. And Knock at the Cabin. M. Night Shyamalan's latest film gets a letter grade of a B plus. It was a excellently made film. I, I mean, it's so far, which I think I'm confident in saying this. It's easy to say this. It's only we only a month and a week into the year. This is the best film of the year so far. It truly is. It is the best film of the year so far. Unfortunately, we have what about 40 weeks left in the year, so we got a minimum of 50 films coming out after this. But right now, it holds the title as the best film of 2023 until next week or whatever. But real good film, and I'm so happy for M. Night Shyamalan. I really, really am, because I'm a fan, believe it or not. As much as he has hurt my feelings in the past, I am a fan because he hooked me with The Sixth Sense and then Unbreakable and Signs, which those are just classics in my heart. And I love those films. And even the films that weren't that good, there are elements of goodness in them, except for After Earth. There was nothing good about After Earth. But he still had it. He just couldn't get there, and he got here with this film, Knock at the Cabin. I highly recommend it. Please go check it. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. It is a really good film, and like I said earlier, it's 100 minutes long. The movie is short. We was walking into the theater, me and my wife. She was like, "How long you think?" I said, "It's M. Night Shyamalan film. It's probably going to be about 2.5 hours." But it's not. It's literally about a what hour and 40 minutes. Very short. It doesn't drag at all. This it starts. We get to the cabin. It starts at the cabin, and the strangers show up like 5 minutes later, and the movie's off and running. It is there is no dragging in this film. Uh, yes, I highly recommend everybody go check it out as soon as you can before people go to spoiling it. I can already see on the internet people are discussing it and dissecting it, and you know going through their interpretations of the film. I can't wait till later on, like when it hits streaming or finally gets to television. I'm gonna do another review of this film where I can go in depth with it, because there's a lot to talk about, but I, I don't want to spoil it for you. Uh, but anyways, you can contact the show by emailing the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also look the show up on Twitter at KB Radio Network, and on other social media platforms. Just look up the KB Radio Network. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing the show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to movie goodness here on the KB Radio Network. And please, ma'am, please, sir, don't forget we are on YouTube as well. Go over there, check us out, and subscribe. Thank you for joining me for this review of M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin. Can't wait to speak to you again. Until then, I want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love one another. And until we speak again, you all be blessed.